Hello, my name is Sam, and I will be reviewing incident management with you today. What is abuse? Any allegation or actual occurrence of infliction of injury, unreasonable restraints, or confinement, intimidation, punishment, mental anguish, sexual abuse, or exploitation. We will be reviewing these a little bit further now. Physical abuse is defined as intentional physical act by staff or person which causes or may cause physical injury to an individual. Something as far as striking or kicking, pulling somebody's hair, applying harmful substances, let's say using some sort of Tabasco or hot sauce on somebody's mouth if they are misbehaving. All of these are just simple examples of physical abuse. Certainly, as you know, there's plenty more examples that I can give. Psychological abuse. An action other than verbal which may inflict emotional harm, invoke fear or humiliation, intimidate, degrade, demean an individual. So something, for example, loud or startling noise to frighten an individual, doing this on purpose, dressing someone in an embarrassing manner and doing that on purpose in order to embarrass them. Those would be some examples of psychological abuse. Sexual abuse. An action or attempted act such as rape, incest, sexual molestation, sexual exploitation, sexual harassment, and inappropriate or unwanted touching of any individual by anyone. So it's important for you to understand it's the simple thing, no means no. It doesn't matter if it's somebody that they work with. It doesn't matter if they're on a date and somebody touched them inappropriately. It doesn't matter if it's a staff member, if it's a friend, if it's a family member. No means no. If they did not feel comfortable with the way that they were touched, then this is something that needs to be reported. Verbal abuse. Verbalization which inflicts or may inflict emotional harm, invoke fear, humiliation, intimidation, degrade, demean an individual. So threatening statements, humiliating statements in order to embarrass somebody, those would all be considered verbal abuse. This is continued. Improper or unauthorized use of restraints. It's important to understand that BOLD does not practice restraints. We do not restrain people. And this says restraints not approved in the individual support plan or one that is not part of an emergency restraint procedure is considered unauthorized. We would probably not take somebody if they did require restraints, because that's not something that we're trained on. Physical in nature or medical, those are the two types of restraints. Neglect. Failure to provide care such as shelter, food, clothing, attention, supervision, including leaving an individual unattended, personal hygiene, medical care, protection from health and safety hazards, and other basic treatment necessities. Neglect is probably the hardest to define, but the most common that you'll see. And these are all, again, things that you would want to be reporting. So for example, not helping somebody with their shower when it's in their ISP that it clearly states that they need assistance bathing. Not giving somebody their meds or missing meds or giving the inappropriate the wrong meds. Those can all be considered as things as neglect. What steps to take? If you witness or have knowledge of somebody abusing or suspect abuse, then here's the things that you need to know. This is what you do. Secure the scene. So that means make sure that the person that you're supporting is safe and out of harm's way. That's the most important thing, right? Contact your supervisor immediately, and we'll talk a little bit further about who exactly to contact. Document the issue as soon as possible. Again, the supervisor will provide you with this documentation, so you don't have to worry about looking for that. Cooperate with the investigation. Of course, if we have an investigation going on, it is expected that you will cooperate with that, and there'll be interviews and things like that. Remain confidential and don't speak with other staff or family about the issues, as this can be perceived as tampering with investigation. It's important for the investigator to go in essentially blindly, not really knowing the whole story, so that they can put the story together as much as they possibly can. And it's kind of like a game of phone tag. If you say something to one person and they say it to somebody else and it all gets convoluted, we know how this all works. So you don't want to create a game of phone tag and have misinformation out there, and then the investigator is not getting the proper information. BOLD has zero tolerance for individual abuse or neglect, and staff must immediately report any safety concerns. The first person you're going to go to is going to be Angie, our COO. She's our head investigator, so you would go to her first. Or you would go to myself or Kim, or any other administrative staff on call or anything of the sort. Leaving a message is unacceptable. So what you want to do is, if you don't get Angie, then you want to call myself, Kim, Becky, any other staff member, administrative staff member, or whoever's on call. And you want to call people until somebody gives you a call back. If you make a statement of concern, they will be taken seriously. Follow through is expected on the part of the employee. If an employee fails to follow through, it changes the validity of your concerns, and will put them in question. See something, say something. Failure to report abuse or suspected abuse is serious and subject to disciplinary action upon up to and including termination. What happens during an investigation? It's likely that the person being accused will be suspended pending the outcome of the investigation. Interviews will be completed with all parties. Investigators' job is to determine the facts. The investigation review committee will review the facts and make the final determination. Whistleblower policy. This is to protect the people who raise the concerns. It is contrary to BOLD's values for anyone to retaliate against anyone who reports unethical violations. An employee who retaliates against someone who has reported violations is subject to disciplinary matters up to including termination. It's important for people to understand that we do take these things very seriously, and it is serious. People could lose their jobs, people could have criminal charges pressed against them. So it's really important that when people make allegations or suspect abuse and or neglect, that this information is as accurate as possible, so that serious consequences don't follow. BOLD has an open door policy. We encourage people to share their questions, concerns, suggestions, complaints with their supervisors or any member of the management team. Confidentiality, it's not your place to speak of other situations. So I always ask people, if you wouldn't want somebody to know something about yourself, then you shouldn't be sharing their information either. Violations of the confidentiality policy may result in disciplinary action up to and including termination. This isn't just violations that have to do with any type of abuse or anything. This also is just in general as far as the people that we support. Confidentiality is very important during an investigation, so an accurate depiction of the situation can be determined. After an investigation is complete, it is also of utmost importance and will lead to disciplinary action up to and including termination, that people remain confidential. This is not limited to speaking to persons who may or may not be terminated as a result of an investigation about the investigation or the people involved. So it is important that often investigations do result in terminations. Sometimes they don't. It really depends on the circumstances. However, if it does lead to a termination or any other termination or any other reason when somebody leaves the agency, you shouldn't be talking about the people that we support. You should be talking about things other than work. And that is something that will be punishable if it comes back to the agency. Individual rights. So you guys will see something very similar to this. This is the individual rights policy. This comes down from ODP. This is not something that we created ourselves. So this is something that's part of the 6500 regulations in regards to the people that we support. So you are expected to review the individual rights and sign off on that. And a copy of this will be given to you so that you can do so. Mandated reporting. As most of you are aware, you are all mandated reporters, and you're all obligated to make reports when you see abuse or neglect. And I've said that multiple times throughout this training. So this just outlines reasons why you would be some signs of abuse: bruising, broken bones, weight loss, memory loss, personality changes, social isolation, changes in bathing habits, giving away assets such as money or property. These are all things that are reportable. Oftentimes during an investigation, we will contact Adult Protective Services in order to make that report and to ensure that they know what's going on, and they'll do a health and safety check. And that concludes this training. If you have any questions, please feel free to call me or send me an email. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have, and go from there. Thank you.